Now, for business updates across the globe, Rotus Odiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Nigeria. I don't want to do global news, but I have to because it's my job. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Let's rifle through the global news because we got to get to Nigeria very quickly. What are we watching today? All right, Euro area final CPI is coming out. Inflation is tending to trend downwards, but Christine Lagarde says they still have to tighten further. So we'll see what happens. Goldman Sachs, their earnings are coming out about 12:30 Nigeria time. U.S. housing starts. Data. How many people are buying houses? How many mortgage applications? I'm trying to slow down as fast as possible. U.S. housing starts, so mortgages. Netflix is bringing out earnings later. There's a big strike in Hollywood. They say it is because of streaming, and they are ripping off writers and actors and directors and so on and so forth. Then Tesla, so much going on in the electric vehicle space. The UK, big deal that they just announced. I'll get to that in a second. That is what to watch for today. Asian stocks are mixed. Still, it is the China story, particularly bad in Hong Kong, which shows you the commingling and intermingling between Hong Kong and China. Hang Seng is down. Shanghai Composite Index is down. The Nikkei 225 in Japan is up. We're expecting CPI information from Japan later on. Ueda earlier today was saying that they might keep their monetary easing going. So we'll see how that works out when those inflation numbers come out. I think it's above their target. What else is going on? Yeah, so China, it is still mostly issues with the mortgages. We just got this about an hour ago, about an hour and a half. UK inflation is cooling, coming down. Headline 7.9%. Estimate was 8.2. It was 8.1 in May. Core inflation, that is the one that the Bank of England is going to be looking at. 6.9%, estimates was 7.1, and that is good. Now, we're still expecting, I think their meeting is August the 1st or August the 3rd. We're still expecting a hike, maybe 25 basis points. It could still be 50 because the target is 2%. So you might still see issues, but it's encouraging in the UK. Now, deals. Rishi Sunak, this is a feather in his cap. Jaguar Land Rover, this just broke earlier in the morning. They've picked the UK over Spain for a new battery plant that's going to be electric vehicle battery plant that's going to be built in Somerset. How did they sweeten the deal? Sunak, the UK, offered apparently about £500 million in subsidies to them to open it up there. This is similar to, I think another deal was between Nvidia and Germany for a chip plant there. Germany offered Nvidia, I think, about 10 billion euros or so in subsidies. So Spain, I mean, this is the competition for capital.
That's what Nigeria should be doing.
That's what we should be doing. Rufai, preach it on.
Preach it on. Be doing, no.
This is the competition. So it was Spain versus the UK. They sweetened the deal, and they're expecting to bring about 9,000 jobs because there's an election coming up next year, and Sunak he's working the phones and trying to get as many deals to come into the UK as possible. So there you go. And it shows you where the electric vehicle conversation is. I think we're going to go to the UK now. Earnings have been coming out. Bank of America, as far as they're increasing deposits, as far as higher interest rates in the US, helping their net interest margins. Look at the net interest income, $14 billion alone, 14% growth, net income growing, revenue growing. Who else we got? I think Morgan Stanley. Yes, Morgan Stanley, more investment banking. Although net income did drop 12% because there were layoffs and there were some other issues. But look at their wealth management revenue. That is the services they provide to rich people like Dr. Abati, who they advise. So there's 6.6 billion there, 16% growth, net revenue is doing well. So that's earnings. I think Morgan Stanley also, they are very bullish on Apple. They're saying, and get this again, this is because of India's economy. They're saying that India could be about up to 15% of revenues for Apple by 2028. But they're saying that the caveat is if India doesn't grow as much, then it's not going to happen. Apple already opened 2 stores there. Morgan Stanley's CEO, he is very bullish on the US economy. He is saying that he doesn't see a recession, echoing Janet Yellen. Low unemployment, what are the triggers? Low unemployment in the US. Q2 earnings have been good so far, but then US-China relations are a bit of a headwind. That's James Morgan. By the way, we already got their earnings already. I think we're getting Goldman Sachs later today. Yes, now let's get to Nigeria. All right. We just got money supply figures at its highest level ever, 64.3 trillion naira. To put this in perspective.
Why are you surprised?
So wait now. To put this in perspective.
All of you kicked against CBN policy.
To put this in perspective, right? The Nigerian Stock Exchange, the entire market cap of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is about 35 trillion. And that's only after this big bull run that we saw when the president did all the things he did and the market was reacting. We're under 30 trillion at the time. So basically, the money supply in the country, the capital market, the stock exchange cannot even absorb all that money. It is so much. Now, why is that? It could be the exchange rate revaluation, more money in the system, maturities, short-term maturities, and so on. But basically, this is one of the major drivers of inflation. When you got too much money chasing too few goods.
But all of you abuse the Mayfield in this country now.
No, hold on a second. This is the thing now. Your cash policy, which the president has now turned around, is only going to make that situation even worse. Because if you are handing cash to people, you are putting more money into the system and driving up the same inflation that is going to eat the value of the cash that you're handing to those people. So productivity is what needs to be done. But this is the complication, and this is what makes things very, very difficult. You must improve your productivity in order to reduce the impact of too much money in the system. How do you do that? You cannot improve productivity without the P word, power. And you need power. There is no short-term gain, or rather, short-term improvement that can be made for power because you've got to do so much in infrastructure. So we are in a very tight situation. It gets even worse. Well, not that it gets even worse. It's better worse. The cable, this just broke about a few minutes ago. The cable is estimating that FAC allocations, Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, the amount that's going to come in for July is about 1.5 trillion. You got to put this in perspective. It was about 786 billion for June.
1.95 trillion.
Yeah. Well, that is for July, sorry. For June was about, or May was it about 780 billion. So it's a big jump, mostly because of the fact that FAC allocations, that is oil proceeds.
But what's the value of the money?
Right now, but it came in at 486 before. They're estimating maybe 750 or higher. Again, this is more money that is going to be coming into the system. So talking monetary economics here, what tools can you use to bring down the amount of money supply in the country? That's another issue. Finally, fuel. So let me just level with everybody. Where's our charts on fuel? Can we have our global gasoline prices chart? Thank you. In red, there is Nigeria. That is 78 cents a liter. Even with fuel subsidies removed, that's 78 cents a liter. If you calculate the 617 naira in Abuja, that has just been increased to, and divided by 800 naira per dollar, which is where the parallel market is, or INE closed at 795. You are still at 78 cents. Look at Tunisia, 83 cents. Look at Gabon. Gabon is at $1.03. $1.03 times 800 puts you at over 800 naira per liter. Look at South Africa. Look at Ghana. Look at Mozambique. Look at Mauritius. The point I'm trying to make here is we need transparency on how these prices are determined.
They are still hedging the market process.
Either that, or there is still a partial subsidy, because the fuel prices, if you compare to others, are still not high enough. So one, we need communication from government to tell us give us the PPR template that we used to have before. PPR is no longer, because of PIE, they've been moved out. But we need a template. We need to be transparent and know how much are you, landing costs, exchange rates, because those prices, as much as everybody is upset, they are not high enough when you compare them to our West African neighbors. So that needs to be put into perspective.
Things. Don't kill the people. Let the poor
tell
breathe.
the people the truth. You must tell the people the truth.
Come in and
tell
let me
them
finish my analysis. Your blood to the hot. Just chill.
It's a hot day.
Yes, they are hedging it. And you know why? Let me tell you the analysis behind it. This is my analysis. NNPC is still in the business of importing fuel, right?
They've given more licenses, though.
They've given more licenses.
Downstream,
but I'm sure collectively they will still be the ones to import the most. So definitely, there's something going on we are not being told.
Probably their exchange rate advantage, because they are government, so they can.
But they are still bringing
the exchange rate again,
and that's still bringing, and that's why when their NNPC station got 617, it became a benchmark of some sort.
Yeah, it is the benchmark, right?
Yeah,
right.
So there's something going on they are not telling us. But apart from that, like I said before, there is no big economy in the world that the government will not have to intervene. It's not now, but probably for the future, the government will have to intervene. And for the second policy, you see now, everybody abused Emefiele. Yes, I get the pain of the people. The pain of the people that money was scarce. They could have put the money out. But Rotus, I said something earlier. Look at how our monetary circulation has increased. I say anytime politics mix with policies, catastrophe is born.
Can I make a quick point?
Just wait a minute.
All right, go ahead.
So the truth has to be said, Rotus. And remind me to tell you something very important.
Okay.
Yeah. The truth has to be said that because we politicized that cash policy, we didn't see the merit in it, and now it's coming back to bite us.
Okay, but Rufai, very, very quickly. I understand saying we criticize Emefiele, but that Naira redesign policy hurt Nigeria's economy.
I know. I said that. I said
fine,
that just now.
And another thing is that the CBN's intervention policies, and we have a monetary policy committee meeting next week where they might raise interest rates. At the same time as the CBN was raising interest rates, MPR has been increased now cumulatively by about 700 basis points.
So what are the options, Rotus?
Well, you have to cut. You either don't increase the MPR, you leave it where, because get this, your intervention policies where the CBN is pumping money into different sectors, it's only fueling money supply growth even more and making the same inflation that they are trying to fight with the monetary policy rate continue to go higher. So it's just reset. We need a reset right now.
So what you've come to tell us this one, Rotis, is that we should expect more fuel price
increase,
more high, because it's not reflective.
It's not.
It is. So there's something that is being hidden, just to make it very clear.
Which is the template, Ayo. Let's be clear. The template. Tell us how you calculate the fuel prices you have arrived at right now, and we will see just be transparent with us, because the market figures compared to other countries, it is still low.
I saw two things. The first thing, in terms of Rufai, going back to the Naira redesign policy and its effect on inflation or a money supply and its consequent effect on inflation. Would you not say, again, like Dr. Basi always talks about policy formation, policy implementation?
Oh, yes.
Because there's no argument around the fact that it was a good policy, and many Nigerians were willing to embrace it. Unfortunately, the implementation was really poorly managed. In the same vein as well is what I've said about the fuel subsidy removal. It is good policy, but implementation, especially the argument that it wasn't well thought out. It was an announcement that was made, and the president did admit to it, just rush on there without plans to cushion the effects, to ease, especially as they're also going to float the Naira. So those are the conversations we should also have in terms of not just good policies, but how we implement policies in Nigeria. And very quickly, because you talked on conditional cash transfers, didn't they say they were going to do it by bank transfers as opposed to
and by the way, just to be clear, I still support the removal of subsidies. Whether it's bank transfers or cash, you're still pumping more money in. Do it another way. Find another way to do politics.
So much money in this circle.
Too much money already.
Okay. The two issues you have raised about Nigeria, money supply, hike in fuel price, and all of that. I think we need to worry about the mystery index. It's called the mystery index, right?
Yes.
That's what economists call it.
Yeah.
The mystery index, by the time the next report comes out, you see that Nigerians will be wallowing in misery.
Correct.
That's just the implication of all of this, of all these distortions within the economic space. Now, what do we do about that? It's not enough for the Tinubu administration to come forward and say, we are going to review palliatives. How? We will give fertilizer and grains to farmers. How? Which farmers?
Right.
So I agree with your point about need for transparency. It's the same thing that the organized labor is asking for. Who are these people on the social register? Who are the people who are going to be rescued out of misery? And why is it that we remove fuel subsidy without thinking ahead? So is this disconnect, poor thinking, poor strategy that all of us are suffering from? That's number one. Number two, on a lighter note, if you go to, well, maybe not light note, don't let me put it like that.
Yeah.
If you go to Kenya,
okay,
the IMF has now approved for Kenya to take
about $1 billion or so, or something.
No, about 396 billion shillings as loan to, ease their debt issues so that Kenya doesn't go into default.
Right.
But you know that in Kenya, the mystery there is writ large, because every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the people go on strike. It's been interpreted as, a fight between Ruto and Raila Odinga, who is leading the protest.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that the people of Kenya are suffering the kind of misery that you find when, you don't plan properly for your people. And I hope Nigeria does not get to that point when Nigerians will be going on strike, on days of the week, just to remind their government that you can't take certain kind of bitter pills. IMF is saying cut public spending in Kenya. IMF is saying we support the increase in taxes, and the people are saying we are suffering. So I hope we don't get to that point. Finally, Singapore now has the best passport in the world. If you have a Singaporean passport, you can go to about 192 countries.
That's right.
I looked at the list. I couldn't see Nigeria. So that's even part of the misery we face.
Well,
our passports cannot even feature, orate globally.
Right.
Because we are already in mystery.
Indeed, Doctor.
Thank you, Rotus.
Thank you so much.